Welcome to Chew the Chat podcast.
How you do that?
I'm working and studying at the same time.
Oh.
So yeah.
Wow.
I've decided when I was in Portugal that I basically wanted to work with my hands in the earth. I was sick of being in corporate, and that's it. I'm going to start studying gardening, and that's what I'm going to do. So yeah, I've been working and studying at the same time. And yeah, just playing it from there, really.
So you just mentioned Portugal. Yeah. I'm going to introduce you, Hannah Green.
Yeah.
Van life.
Yes.
Ecstatic dance.
Yeah.
Goodbye corporate.
Yeah.
On the road.
Yeah.
So I want to know all about that.
Okay. Yeah. So where did it start?
Yeah.
I've always wanted to travel,
mm-hmm.
and I've always had a curious mind. But as you know, I've got a daughter, and I was a young mum, and I had this drive to always kind of explore the world, but there's only so much you can do when you're a parent. So I took her away quite a lot with me, but I always had this feeling in me, right, I just need to see the world. I really need to see the world.
Mm.
And I took Leah to we went to some amazing festivals together. Have you heard of Tomatino, where it has a big tomato fight?
Where's that? Is that in Spain?
Yeah, in Valencia.
Yes, I have, yeah. I've seen footage of it. It is
amazing.
Bonkers, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Doesn't it go on for a long time as well?
Well, they blow a horn, and then there's like all these lorries full of rotten tomatoes, and then you just go crazy. It's like a big fight, a nice fight with tomatoes. Yeah, so I took her to that when she was young, and whenever I wanted to take her away. But inside me, there was this feeling of, I really just want to have a massive adventure.
Wanderlust, just.
Oh yeah, always ticking away. Yeah. So as she grew older, I kind of got on with the career. It was in marketing. I studied psychology, and I kind of, now I realise wrongly so, vented it into marketing.
Right.
Because...
Yeah. Marketing, mind you, in 2020...
Well, it's needed for the right things, but I just felt like it was in the wrong things. I've started reading books on... There's a particular book called Certification. I don't know if you've heard of it. But it's about basically what's releasing from materialism into like experience. It's basically to do or to have, and you kind of sent me down the path of, right, that's it. And why am I even in marketing? Why am I even in this consumer world? I just don't want any of this. Why am I doing it?
Upside down.
Yeah, completely.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was a very significant book. And then... yeah, basically, I just more and more, and just feel something inside. I felt like I was just in the wrong job completely, almost in the wrong place, in the wrong life. And I just thought, I need to get out in the world. So, yeah, Leah went to university. She finished uni, and then I was like, right, that's it. I'm just gonna get out there. And the thing is, you feel a bit trapped when you have a mortgage and you're in a job. It's like, how do I get out of this? How do I have a big adventure, And so I just thought, right, I'm just going to get rid of it all.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Literally threw everything to the wind, and we're going.
Yeah. Well, my house I rented, but all of my belongings, I had 9 dustbin bags full of clothes for the charity shop.
Wow.
And it was really refreshing because it released a lot of my identity. It's just like, just get rid of it all. I don't want it.
I had a similar experience when listeners to this podcast know by now anyway. I moved to Thailand.
Yes,
with
I heard you did,
with my little ones when they were young, thinking that way. I'm thinking, right, I've got to do it now. But that we sold everything, kept the house, rented the house, but sold everything else, and it was really, really scary, but so liberating.
Yes,
so liberating.
It is. Because you start, I had like thoughts, I feel quite attached to that settee. And it's like, no, I'm not. It's just a settee. Admittedly, there's books I couldn't get rid of. They were all in my mum's attic.
Yeah.
And there's some kind of I had 2 massive yucca plants the same age as my daughter. You know, she's now 23, and I couldn't. My friend looked after them. I was like, I can't let go of those.
Yeah, but that's lovely. That's a gorgeous thing, isn't it? Same
yeah,
age
exactly.
as your daughter.
Yeah. Oh, they're still. Now I'm back and I'm renting again temporarily. I'm not going to keep doing that forever, but just since COVID, I've kind of had to. I couldn't really stay anywhere on a campsite in my van. So, anyway, so back to the why I wanted to let go of everything. Yeah, basically. So I decided to give him my job, give up my things, and get myself off to South America for 6 months. Just me and my rucksack on my own.
And have you been there before in the past on holidays? So
went to Peru. I did Machu Picchu, Peru, but that was just like a kind of 2-week excursion, you know, mountain trek. No, it was, I was very excited. I was ready for it. Yeah. You know, we're like, come on world, ready for you. Yeah, it was really.
And where did you head to straight away down there?
So started in Chile, down at the bottom. We did some trekking, and then moved all the way up Bolivia, and then Ecuador. Spent some time in the Amazon. That changed my mindset. I mean, I'm in love with nature anyway, but wow, that rainforest. Whoa, it blew my mind. Yeah, really? Absolutely. Yeah.
And is it as unforgiving as it's often sort of depicted?
Well, I did for Christmas. I was camping in there with a guide, just me and him.
Whoa.
Yeah, and he was local. You know, he wasn't like touristy.
Yep.
And he honestly knew every single thing. I mean, I didn't really speak Spanish. I was learning it en route. However, he was only talking to me in Spanish, but for some reason I understood him. Yeah. You know, you just know, you kind of, you know what they're saying. And he was just telling me every little, every use for every single thing in the jungle, you know.
It's mesmerising.
Yeah, you just realise how resourceful some cultures can be, you know. And he just picked up this like big shell. He's like, oh yeah, this is a conch we blow, and he put a hole in it. This is for communication. Just found it on the floor, and you know, I was in awe.
How long were you camping in there? What, just a couple of nights?
5 nights, yeah. For Christmas Day, we caught a fish. That's what I had for my Christmas dinner.
How magical.
Yeah, I loved it, honestly. It was amazing, yeah. It was a real experience for me, yeah.
And did you have any near misses, not only maybe with, you know, jaguars, things like that, but like, what about things like, obviously it's tropical, there's potential for all sorts of malaria and bits and bobs. And
the only thing, I mean, I got bitten to pieces, which I always do. That's no big deal. But there was a very frightening thing for me in that there was a spider's web that was really, really big, and he just pushed it with his hand, and his hand bounced off. It was like wire. It was that big, and and I kept thinking, when we walked for about 2 hours, but I could not stop thinking about, where is that spider? That spider must be enormous. I mean, the web was like that big.
I wonder how big his family was.
Honestly. I just couldn't stop thinking about it.
What were you like about spiders generally?
I mean, I'm not really scared of them, but
when you're
thing.
Yeah, when you're in the Amazon, you start thinking, actually, that's not a British house spider, is it?
No, you just keep thinking of that.
So when you're actually camping, are you like in an enclosed tent? Are you just under like a canopy? Has he built something?
Well, it was really funny because he brought a tent with him for me, and then he slept like just under a canopy. But then on one night it was really, really raining, so he jumped in I was like, come in my tent with me. I felt like you can't sleep outside the tent because basically there's mosquitoes everywhere, but for some reason people that live there don't seem to get bitten.
No.
So he kept saying, no, I'm fine with the mosquitoes. But anyway, yeah.
I wonder what that is. What is that, Aidan? Why is that? Why do people not get bitten by mosquitoes when they're native to the area? I know when I was in Thailand, I think I learned that, and again, I'm not entirely sure that this is accurate, but it might have been in a bar, someone told me this, but I'm sure they've got like less pores per inch on their body, like something like 1/3 less or 2/3 less pores in their body, just because their evolution of being in the heat and the way their skin adapts.
Yeah, it's something to do with the skin. Yeah,
And
Yeah,
the
they're
blood
cheap.
and everything, and the heat. I don't know why
I don't know why.
people breathe out also produce more when body odor. Oh, there you go.
Oh, is it body odour? Oh, that's good. So does that mean that we just don't smell very nice then?
I don't know. I think we're probably just new, aren't we, and fresh.
Yeah, oh, okay, yeah. We
And
probably smell nicer. That's why they want us.
They probably just stand out because
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. It's interesting though.
Yeah.
So you did,
Anyway.
did you have any creepy crawly like moments? Was it just that spider web after?
Yeah, there was nothing else actually. On another trek that I did, which was in Colombia, I heard howler monkeys, and I loved that noise. Yeah,
Wow.
it's a memory, just certain memories. But we saw within the Amazon, we saw kind of like a wild boar thing snuffling around. And in my head, I was like, "Oh, I wish that was something more exciting." You know how you do, because you're just looking for more adventure. But but it was just.
Was it what you thought it would be, the Amazon, or did it?
Oh, it was more.
Yeah.
Because I was completely mesmerised all the time by the light coming through all the big tropical leaves. Now, I feel like I just came back thinking I wanted to draw, I want to paint all this, I want this in my mind.
Right.
I'm still now full of it.
That's amazing.
When I'm in woods here, I kind of just almost go back to it. As soon as there's like large leaves and absolutely.
And what
magical.
What were the local people like with you there?
Really friendly
foreigners.
actually. Yeah. When you're a female on your own, you just get a lot of welcome. They're really homely, and you get quite a lot of attention actually. Right. Which at first you're like, oh, quite like this, and then it's like, I just don't want this. I just want to be merged in with everyone else. So
where was next then from the Amazon?
So that was, and then Colombia.
And that's where the howling monkeys were.
Yeah, and just amazing place. Although I had some really, really bad experiences. Basically in the fact of just what I saw, I kind of got lost. Basically, whenever I'm travelling, wherever I go, I get lost. It's just a joke with me and my friends. I just get lost all the time. But
and you're always on your own then, Hannah? Do you always travel alone?
Over the last few years, yes. Yeah.
Do you tend to meet people and kind of?
Oh, always, yeah.
And do you spend like spells of time with people, and we're going this way, so yeah? Yeah,
I mean, locals are brilliant. They're just like, oh, jump on my motorbike, have the day with me, take you off. And it's like, you feel humble, really. I'm sure you've had this when you've been away in town. You feel humble because they just want to give you nothing but hospitality and show you their place. And it's like, what can I give back? I can't, what can I give? You just feel like I can't. I just don't think we're the same here. Yeah. You know what I mean? But anyway, so in Colombia, there was in the city, this particular road that it was horrific. I got lost. I was looking for a fruit market, always looking for a fruit market. And it was just absolutely, it was a really long road full of, in desperation, people, homeless people, really, they actually looked like they were dying.
Do you feel the frequency change from country to country South America?
Yes, and from in city when you're outside city, and big time. Although, I'm kind of saying that like a really bad bit there, but in general, my overall feeling, and more so in Brazil just took my heart, Sam. It really did. Oh my God, the people, they just have such a love for life, and there's art expressed everywhere, music, dance, freely on the streets. I'd be on a bus and a little boy would be patting the bus behind me, beating his rhythm. Everywhere on the streets is people dancing samba, just loving it and not caring, and
And obviously the slums are famous from Brazil. What's the balance like with the opulent side? Is there a lot of money? Is there shiny buildings? Is there, because in Thailand you get, obviously you can be a shiny building and then next to a shack, and it's kind of like, whoa, this doesn't seem to fit. What's Brazil like in that way?
I didn't it was mainly like in the Forellas. I went actually up to party in one of them because I'm always looking to party as well. This is the thing. So yeah, they kept saying, "Oh, you don't go up there," but then somebody else is saying, "Oh, it's great parties up there." And of course, when someone says that,
that's where you go.
You got to, aren't you? It's simple as that. So, yeah. So I didn't really see a lot of the rich there. I think just the places I was hanging out weren't really like that. But you definitely do. There is still a contrast to kind of the more touristy, and then the further up you go into the Forellas, the higher and higher you can feel the dodginess.
Right.
You feel like I shouldn't be here, really.
And how was that experience then? Did you meet
some... Well, for me, all the ways, the locals are friendly.
Right.
Always. And I just go to dance, and if there's people dancing, I'm there. And I just feel like if you own... And like I just wouldn't take money with me, wouldn't even take my phone, and just go. And, you know, if you don't have anything on you, you feel like... Maybe that's naive. You feel like you're not at risk.
Well, I get from you straight away, Hannah, like a trust. You just trust your path, don't you?
Yeah.
You trust your energy, and you kind of almost, it feels it, and we'll get into it, I'm sure, as the conversation unravels, but there's almost an acceptance that, you know, you understand that there's dark and light out there, and, you know, if you go with good energy and good intent, generally that's what you'll find.
Yeah, no, I'm always highly intuitive. And I've realised what you give out, and if you're looking for a good time, and I don't mean good time when you're like going to bring all this kind of, you know, I'm lauding it or anything. It's like, no, come in, because I feel in the music like you are. Let's dance. Let's enjoy nature. I mean, I had 10 days wild camping with these artisans who were very nomadic, and they were Colombian, and they would just make jewellery on the streets and then move on with the money they've made. And I spent time with them because they were absolutely sound, you know, and it was really good to be with them.
And they were Colombian, you say?
Yeah.
Right.
And, basically they just made things out of nature. So when we were trekking and camping, and they would find things on the floor, make this beautiful jewellery. And I shared that. I just felt that, you know, that love for the nature and bringing that to people in jewellery. They were just amazing to be with. And
was there any were your Spanish getting better, and is their English kind of, so you're able to kind of...
Well, yes, I mean, they mainly did only speak Spanish, so yeah. Right.
And I imagine you must have had a lot of nicknames along the way. Did people give you kind of nicknames?
Yeah, Hannah Banana is always that's what I'm called here. Yeah. So when I say that, people love it. It's kind of an icebreaker, because obviously banana is universal.
Yeah, oh God, yeah.
Everyone knows what that word is.
Yeah.
So, that was mainly it. Yeah, I wasn't really... I mean, sometimes they kind of call you gringo, but that's a bit more negative. Yeah. I didn't really call... That was, a few people. They were just playing, but... I kept thinking, don't call me that. Yeah.
Well, I guess, you know, it is a universal term, isn't it, for the white man in the dark world. But when you're with like a group like that then for like 10 days wild camping, and you can start to get a little window into how they're existing and their life, that must be fascinating.
Oh, it was because they literally lived like, what we're gonna, if they made something, are we gonna sell it? And if they sold it, okay, right, we're gonna get on the train, or we're gonna get on an overnight bus and go somewhere else. And it was they just lived day to day.
And are they kind of a group of adults, or is there family kind of hierarchies in there? Or is it...
these were just adults, but there were some other families, because obviously they're for real kind of, even when they go to a new place, they like kind of meet up with the other artisans who they don't know, but because they are all the same, doing the same thing, they're like, best of friends instantly. Yeah. So that was interesting. And then they kind of welcomed me in, for some reason,
And did it seem like to you, I mean, it's not a massive window of time, but could you get an idea for how that must be is it a healthy lifestyle for them? Does that look like the happiness? Are they content? Do they feel whole? Are they searching for anything more?
I think, I mean, they certainly know how to they have a good time all the time.
Yep.
So I don't know. I didn't really feel that they were unhappy, but more I'd say that, I don't know, they're just I mean, they were very much traveller's mind. They wanted to, because when they would go somewhere else, they would also try and experience that place as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very kind of traveller mindset. I would,
Yep.
I wouldn't know if they were. I felt the stressed. I felt if they were stressed if they hadn't sold things.
Right.
So that is a stress.
I guess that's where the food's coming from most of the time and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're just camping, living in.
Yeah, they're living in a tent. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was really nice to experience. They were very, very free. But they're not, because they're reliant on people buying the jewellery.
Yeah. Self-employed, proper.
Yeah.
Proper.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, interesting.
So Brazil, yeah. I mean, every time it's depicted, that carnival kind of,
Yeah, it really is. And everywhere, there's a real feeling of a love of life, even though there's such poverty. I watched a film which was an amazing film. Someone told me about it, and I couldn't believe I hadn't seen it when the lads I was with at the time were telling me. Is it City of God? Oh yeah.
Have you seen it?
I have, yeah.
Have you seen that, Aidan?
No, I haven't.
City of God. Pull that up, Aidan. City of God, right? It depicts I guess the favelas as much as anything.
Yeah.
But that young people in Brazil, and some of that side, the darker side, the survival side, in contrast to the carnival and the dance and the kind of the primal nature of their existence. Yeah, City of God 2002. Yeah.
You reminded me actually there, Sam, of something. So when I was dancing around the samba bars, which I can only, I mean, I was in awe of how everybody, just children, everyone, just never sat down. They just danced, and they had this rhythm in their hips and their feet, and so that was going. It's very happy, but then also intermingled right as part of it was a lot of homeless people, very in desperation, highly, heroin addicts and everything, right, mingled in. So you kind of just come out the bar, and then there's somebody looking very in desperation, like asking you for money, and you're smiling because you're all dancing, and then so that was a real
that peripheral kind of knowing that there's people that are
and in Brazil Brazilians, they're just carrying on in between it all, but obviously they're used to it, but we're more like, God, that's really...
Yeah, that film, if people haven't seen it, it's really worth seeing. It's a fantastic film. Very, very difficult at times to watch. So powerful, really powerful film, and I think there's another one that came after it, but that was kind of a depiction of especially that young life in Brazil to me, that was like, because there's some UFC fighters that I watch and have watched for many, many years, and you see bits when they're at home, training and the lifestyle, and there's a much more primal, celebratory feeling about their life, but it is both things. It's kind of like the wrong thing is wrong, and happiness is kind of celebrated in that relaxed kind of freedom sense. But the balance is always there.
There's and from a Westerner's point of view, you feel the edge amongst all that, but because everyone's so happy, and you kind of
clearly that's the overwhelming thing for you, because you said straight away, Brazil was just...
So I came back from Brazil thinking, that's it, I'm bringing some of that soul back with me, and that's when I came back to live in my van, and I was kind of on this quest really to be dancing freely, as I had done in Brazil, in the UK, bearing in mind our culture.
Yes, difficult thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
How did you find that then, Hannah?
Yeah, so I kind of just had it always ticking in my mind, because it also in Brazil, because I was going out on my own, and I didn't want to drink because I didn't want to put myself vulnerable. Obviously, a female on your own, it's maybe not good. I mean, some of the clubs I went to, they were saying you shouldn't go there. When I was in there, I was fine, but I knew I just don't drink. Just keep sane and just dance, and it's always okay. But if you're vulnerable, aren't you? If you're slightly,
of course, you're intoxicated, you can't quite, you're your radar sort of loses its way a bit.
Yeah.
But you're disciplined enough to do that then as well, because there must be times when you think, God, I do one of those cocktails.
Oh, completely. Completely, you know. And I did sometimes have a drink in the day, but just when I knew I was going somewhere dodgy, I just thought, no, just don't. I was so wanting to dance with people and feel safe, I suppose. So I had it in my mind that and I realised that I could dance without drink and drugs.
Yeah.
And it was like, that on its own was really liberating.
Even more powerful, I can imagine.
Yes, yeah, it really, really is, yeah. And so I kind of knew inside me I wanted to do this in the UK, but I had no idea how. So, you know, you just think, well, anyway, I didn't even know the answer to it. It was just something rumbling away inside of me. And so then I came back to the UK and, started to live in my van in Cornwall. I thought, right, that's it. I don't want to live back in a house. Don't really know what I want to do, but I'm going to plonk myself in a van somewhere nice and just see what happens.
Yep.
And like you say, I just always, the universe looks after me, because in Cornwall I kind of just sat chatting to someone on the beach, and then I got a job in the Tate Art Gallery, just researching, asking people why they like the art there.
Yeah.
And that was just a guy on the beach. He chatted to me and he said, I think I've got a job for you, and the perfect person.
Really? Oh, wow.
So,
And what was that experience like? Would you find yourself kind of wandering around the Tate Gallery thinking, well, this is mad?
Yeah, it was just, I just had to stand there, like, had like a script of what to ask people. And obviously in an art gallery, people are really in a good mood and they're very want to talk about the art.
Yeah, they're open to it. That's an experience, isn't it? But that was really interesting.
It was, yeah. And you know who was in there? You know Una Stubbs from Wurzel Gummidge, Aunt Sally.
Oh, Aunt Sally.
So it's really funny because
cup of tea and a slice of cake.
I was just chatting to her, like, interviewing her, but it wasn't a formal interview. It's just kind of a chat. But then I would record what they'd said, take notes afterwards. And she said to me, "Oh, you're lovely. What's your name?" And I said, "Hannah." And I was wanting to say to her, "You're Una." And then I said, "Oh, can I just ask you, are you Aunt Sally?" And she's like, "Yeah." She was very eccentric. Yeah,
really?
I felt like I wanted to talk to her for a long time.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So she was really open and just a nice vibe.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she was really into her art,
Wow.
But I didn't want to
And what about you? Where were you with art?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. And I mean, again, back to Brazil and Colombia, art everywhere.
Yep.
Everywhere I look, there's lots of colour. I mean, you've probably seen all the street art. And one thing that's really kind of stuck in my mind was there was a particular message written on the floor, on the walls, "Más amor, por favor." So they just want to give out the love everywhere. And I come back and I think, why haven't we got this?
Yeah.
Why don't we have these messages?
Did you come to any conclusions? I mean, this is probably for a bit deeper into the conversation, but did you start to come to any conclusions as to why cultures are so different, or certainly this Western US and the England, the UK comparatively?
I did. Well, also just from feedback from when you're talking to people in Latin Americans, they often
what they think of us.
America, they're always saying, "Europeans, you're so serious." And I'm like, well, we are actually. I feel like we are compared to you guys.
Yeah.
They kept using the word serious, and I was feeling like that anyway. And then obviously going there, and then I came back and thought, I just don't want to go back to being serious, i.e. being back in that kind of job that I wasn't wanting to be in.
Yeah, because when you break that comment down, serious, I mean, obviously it's very complex and there's evolutional reasons in the DNA. And I mean, it's something that I thought about again myself deeply in Thailand, when you'd watch people just taking their time.
Yes.
Just taking their time.
They do. They don't have a time. It's almost a joke, isn't it, when you're there? Because it's like, the bus, oh, well, it's not here.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it'll not be here for 6 hours.
And I'd be like, for fuck's sake, Jesus Christ. And then I would catch myself doing that. I think, hang on a minute, why is this? And I spent some time thinking about it. And some of it led me to weather, climate.
Yeah, it's the sunshine makes a big difference, doesn't it?
And if you
It
go
does.
back in history, if you go back to like, the Northern Europeans, and when we start to, agriculture, and we're building structures, or we're growing food even, like we've got to like think about gale force winds, and
Yeah.
freezing storms. And if
Yeah.
we don't plant crops now, we won't be able to eat then.
Yeah.
And then we're fucked. And if
Yeah.
we can't build something that, can withstand these seasons and keep us safe and keep us sheltered, we're going to be, dead essentially. Whereas if you live in Thailand or Brazil, it's kind of like, well, should we sleep here?
Yeah.
'Cause there's
Sleep outside, yeah.
banana tree there,
Yeah.
coconut here.
Yeah.
And then if you think of thousands of years of that evolution, it's kind of, I some of that came to me. I thought there must be something to do with it. It's got to be something to do with just years and years and generations of us having to come up with these the ingenuity to build things and be safe from. But who knows?
But also, I think in the Western culture, we've kind of just become too. It's all about this strive for status and wanting more. Where I don't feel. I mean, I experienced certain parts of Brazil, but I just didn't feel that as much. So we've got this kind of work harder to get more, whereas I just didn't feel that.
Well, that
really.
plays straight into that. The being relaxed and. Yeah, it doesn't matter. The bus is late. We're already thinking. Time is money.
Yes.
We
do. Yeah. Time is money.
And then you're saying to little Jimmy, "Come on, be quiet. We're going to be late." And then you talk to your kids in a certain way because everything's just fast.
Yeah.
That's a topic we talk about a lot on here. I'm not traveling the world, but I'm definitely getting out in the woods and just trying to just slow down.
Yes.
Just connect with nature and just slow down, because it's almost we force it upon ourselves, don't we?
Yeah.
The expectation is unreal.
Yeah.
In some ways, I mean, I don't want to get into COVID and stuff, but in some ways I feel like it's a good thing in the sense that it's making us step back a little bit and realise,
It's changed a lot of people's mindset, I think, about being in nature, because they've gone and been in nature.
Because we didn't have time before,
Yeah.
did we? And we want the flashy telly and the nice car, and we've got the payments to keep up and stuff. So when you're in Brazil, you're feeling that, and they're saying, you Europeans are serious.
Yeah. So that kind of stuck in my mind, actually, but also kind of, as I say, in this feeling I had that I didn't want to be in that job and in that world. And then in Portugal, and then I was living in my van in Cornwall, and then I had a really funny incident in that a vicar went into my van, straight into the side of it, and left a really massive dent. I was fine because the van still went. I'm one of these, if it still goes, I'm going to still drive it. But I got a really big payout from the vicar.
Wow.
And so that, I thought, well, what am I going to do with this? And that's why I went, that's what I used to go to Portugal to explore. I was looking to maybe live there, but I just didn't really know. So the reason I want to talk about that is that you mentioned about having time to be still in nature. So for 4 months, that's all I was really doing in Portugal.
Really?
I was just trekking, meeting people. I found this dance. In Cornwall, I first experienced dancing kind of freely.
So you found it in the UK then?
I did, yes. So I'm kind of jumping forward and back because
cool.
it So I did find it in the UK. Yeah, so in Cornwall, the people I met, I just made friends with people, and some really open and quite spiritual, really lovely sound people, basically. And they were very conscious in living and very much kind of living very holistically. And they kept mentioning this festival called Into the Wild. Have you heard of it?
I have heard of it, yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm not sure. And anyway, I went kind of clubbing quite a lot in Cornwall, normal clubbing.
Yep.
And then I was like, okay, well, I don't know if I can go to a festival without drinking or doing any drugs, because I'm cultured to think
you're conditioned, that's what you've done.
100%, yeah. In this country,
Yes.
it's like, I'm not sure I can do that. I'm going to be bored. What do I do with my hands?
Isn't that strange how we're programmed in something?
We are, yeah.
Yeah, that is weird. So you're getting over that bit then? I
went to the festival and, oh my God, it changed my life.
Right.
Yeah, because the festival was great anyway. There was like loads of yoga and loads of kind of workshops and things that I hadn't really experienced before. Obviously, I've been doing yoga all the time, but just kind of intimacy workshops and all sorts of things. But then there was this big tent with music playing, and I just thought, what's going on in there? That music sounds amazing. And everyone just literally looked like you was walking into a rave. You know, people were dancing very freely, and I just thought, what's this? I'm having some of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I went in there, and just because I resonated with the music straight away.
What kind of music was it, Hannah?
It was very dancey. It was quite kind of a little bit trancey, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So kind of euphoric.
This particular one, yes, yeah. However, since then, the dance and then usually with this ecstatic dance, as we call it, there's lots of different names for it, but it's basically dancing without the drink and the drugs. And usually the DJ takes you on a journey, a bit of a wave, so you start quite slow and just get into it, nice kind of ambient, and then it gets higher and higher and higher.
Yep.
And then it kind of goes a bit down tempo. But yeah, so, and it often quite ethnic-y, tribal beats, often live percussion.
Yep.
All of these things bring you into a real frenzy, and there's really great vibrations from everyone. There's great energy, and you've just got to let go of any kind of inhibitions, really. I mean, some people close their eyes because if they've never done it before, I think they're conscious of what everyone else is doing around them. And I was at first, and then I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to go with this. I'm going to let myself go.
I do know what you made. The thought comes to my mind there. You know, the first thing I always think is a wedding. That's the classic.
Yeah, yeah.
I always think of the crazy uncle.
Dancing, yeah.
The crazy uncle who just, you know, we're all peripherally sat around the dance floor. Yeah, the wedding's done. We've all been on our feet all day. We're like, thank fuck, where's the food, right? And then some nutter uncle just skids onto the dance floor with his tie around his head, and then everyone else is like, all right. And then people start creeping on. I kind of always think of that. But the way you said that, then I think it kind of epitomizes that to let go. Whether we're meditating or I do floating, or lately a lot of the talk's been wild camping, connecting with nature. Dancing, there's something about dancing where you don't really know what your body's going to do, how much rhythm you've been gifted, or any of that stuff. And the feeling of other people watching you and, oh God, am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? Am I cool? If she's really good, or all these things. When you let go of that, I think that's the thing we're all searching for, isn't it? I mean, in everything.
That's what I found, Sam. Freedom. I found freedom from dancing.
Wow.
Honestly, so I've done this travelling and searching for some kind of forms of freedom and release from this society, and I've found it in dance. And like throughout COVID, I've been dancing around the fields or in my house, free, smiling and very happy and just letting go.
So that thing you've been looking for is in you.
It's in there. It's in us all. Freedom's in us all. It's just releasing. So the whole journey with Ecstatic Dance has been, so that happened, and I came out of that tent with tears in my eyes, and I just said, that's it, my life has changed.
Did you know that tent in particular was that way inclined then? That it wasn't people who were kind of doing drugs and things?
The whole festival is no drink and drugs.
So that Into the Wild, is that a play on the film? Because the film Into the Wild, that was named Into the Wild, where I forget the actress's name, but she goes often, she's a similar thing, and just, so I imagine it's a play on that. I've heard little bits about it.
You're on about the lady who does the whole trek, doesn't she?
I think so, yeah. I wonder if it's a play on that.
I'm not sure.
I've read things over the years, and I think a lot of festivals are taking that kind of vibe where they have areas now with yoga and kind of make it a bit more mindful, and they're taking on that whole movement. And it'd be nice to think that that's starting to happen more at general festivals now. People are thinking, instead of double dropping silver dollars, I'm going to chill or whatever.
Yeah, it's beautiful because it's very kind of in with nature. There's families, you know, it was all sorts going on, really. You might be able to find it.
Wild, due to the COVID outbreak, Into the Wild is postponed until 21. Yeah, look at that.
There's other ones, I forget, they're like Green Gathering, and there's quite a few going on.
I've heard of that one as well, yeah. So you go in that tent, and you've been in a few rave tents in your time. You know what the vibe is. This one ticks the boxes and you just got that feeling of you've broken through into, it can be like this.
Yeah, and I felt high. I felt higher because it was a natural high of euphoria, and I came out in tears because I realised that day, oh my God, I can get as high as I've ever done before, completely naturally, and feel that collective energy from other people without drugs.
Yeah.
Because often in the world of drugs, you can be, we're all happy, we're all best of friends.
It's temporary though.
Yeah, and then you see them in town on the next day and they don't even speak to you.
No, on a Wednesday, and we're kind of we're just about over the hangover and the limbo and all that, but we're kind of just back in the groove of like, it's almost like it's a trick, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's how I started to feel towards the end of my career. It was almost like, hang on a minute, I used to think this was me getting away and beating the system by having my fun and celebrating, and for a while it is that, especially when you're younger. But then I've started thinking, with the drugs especially, it's like, no, the fuckers have got you by the balls, because I'm back to work with like half my battery power on a Monday, and
you just lose your personality for about 3 days.
And I've recently read for the second time Why We Sleep, Matthew Walker book.
Oh right, no, I've not heard of that, no.
That's worrying when you haven't slept for a decade or so.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, what it's losing years off us, is it?
Probably. And sadly, you can't get it back. So it's not like you can just start kipping and rebuilding. But it's not all's not lost, because again, like everything, it's holistic and it's how you live your life.
Yes.
So much of it is in your attitude and in your intent anyway. But it was definitely a massive eye-opener to think it wasn't just what you're putting in your body in terms of chemicals. Probably the most damaging thing was not sleeping.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, yeah.
So,
I mean, my memory isn't very good, but the rest of me, I feel very much alive and healthy, So I do think we can rejuvenate ourselves.
For sure. And all is not lost. But
Yes.
it was that whole trick, and kind of when you're young, and who knows what your background is and how you ended up doing what you do and all the rest of it. In everybody's individual case, when we're partying and we're escaping. And it feels to me like there's a period, when you're young, you're 17, 18, you've got the keys to the kingdom and the electric lights and the nightclubs and the party and the explosion of adventure is amazing. But then when you start creeping into your 20s and now your 30s, it really changes, because the fun just isn't the fun. And if you're relying on whatever's in the bag or whatever's going to be in your body for a few hours, there's something, your intuitive gut, you know that, don't you?
And I don't know about you, I just kept kind of searching to get higher and higher. It's like, why can't I get as high as I did before? And it's like,
which is a cliche, but it's true, isn't it? A cliche for a reason.
Yeah.
So when you come out of the tent then, and you're absolutely just overwhelmed with emotion, and do you sort of go on a quest?
I literally felt excited for my life.
Oh wow.
I just thought, I've discovered a secret that I didn't know. Honestly, that's how I felt. And I wanted to tell my friends. And I'm just like, oh, this is it. And when I kept saying, when is there more of this? Where else can I do this? Surely it's not just at this festival, once a year. And then, the more, and it's like with anything, the more you kind of notice or experience something, then you're on the lookout for it and you find it. It's in your life then, isn't it? It's kind of, you hear somebody saying it. So I used to hear kind of the word conscious dance. So there's lots of different names for it, and it's all kind of the same thing, really.
And historically, didn't the Greeks do it? I'm sure I've read there was like Greek ladies, and it was something to do with the wine god.
Oh, I don't know.
Like,
I know it's Greek ladies. I've heard that as well.
I'm sure you might be able to pull that up.
Yeah, that's interesting. The wine god.
Oh, did you just type that in, Aidan?
I was looking up. I was reading about Dionysus the other day, and I think he's the god of wine.
Ah.
So I don't know if that's something.
God, Dionysus, no.
Ritual madness.
The god of grape harvest, wine and fertility, fruit, vegetation, insanity, ritual madness, ecstasy festival.
Oh.
Yeah, weren't the ladies like Mayads or something, or I'm sure I've read this. But yeah, and throughout history, the idea, and you mentioned earlier, like the kid banging drums
Yes.
on the bus. The frequency of the beats, I mean, that's the heartbeat through
primal.
any beat. It's just kind of,
Yes.
it happens and it happens to you.
Yeah.
And we've been celebrating. And it feels like this movement, this has been sort of in the last, I want to say 20 years, almost like I've been hearing more and more about, I mean, Savannah Morris, episode number 20, she talks about it. And similarly to you, she loves being out there and amongst people and dancing. She said like that was one of the most powerful experiences she'd ever had.
Because it's so raw. It makes you a bit nervous that it's so raw that you're kind of dancing in this way. And then when you realise that you just do let go, it's like you're on the edge of your whole being.
Closest I can remember feeling to that was when I was young, and maybe the first times I ever did go to like super clubs, you know, Cream or whatever like that. And I'm obviously conscious enough to be able to remember this, but I can remember just being, this is chemically enhanced.
Yeah.
I imagine I'm trying to kind of get to where you're at in terms of, and I can remember that feeling. And like, I was only young, 17 in Liverpool at Cream, and looking across the dance floor and like, you know, an Asian guy and a big tall lady in a cage doing all the, you know, like, and catching people's eyes, and you're in that moment. And as we mentioned, it's temporary and you don't know it at that point, but to have that raw and, you know,
That's what I mean. It's
completely kind of genuine.
And you feel like, I think as well when with the music, and if you're really resonating with the music, you feel into your soul. You really just feel completely
and you
in
catch
your body.
eyes with somebody else. And
I mean, doing it on your own and also with other people. Yeah, when you're dancing raw like that with somebody else, it's almost, it's precious. Because it's real communication,
because we're so
body
fucking scared of doing it. I bet there's loads of people listening to this now who would love to do that and don't realise how far from it we really are of just letting go. But if you did start to let that idea in and go, do you know what? Just fucking go. Because then if you see your friend go and she's gone, fucking hell, she's gone.
Yeah.
You give her a little bit of confidence, right? I'm going to go a bit. Go on, no, really go. Just fucking go. And who knows what your body's going to do.
Yeah. So in Bristol, it's all going on.
Right,
you know, honestly, and London, this is what I found. It's like, actually, this stuff is going on.
Yeah, well, the last 20 years, I'm sure I've been hearing more and more and more of groups sort of up, you know, starting to really put classes in place or places to go where people can just meet.
Festivals. I went to a festival in Corfu in Goa in India. A whole month I just danced every day, or like for a few hours. There's a big place called The Source, and there's hundreds of people, different nationalities, dancing freely like this. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. There's this great big banyan tree. It's very magical. So
do you get, this is going to be a weird thing to ask, so do you get the odd peoples turn up who are on
sometimes
drugs?
So when it's smaller places, no, because it's almost like an unwritten rule. So it's a bit disrespectful. But bigger places, you get, but they stand out like a sore
That's
thumb.
kind of what I'm getting at, because it's
You
the
can tell when
reverse, isn't
someone's
it,
had
really?
a drink,
Yeah.
You really can, and it's funny, really, because.
So how's that kind of? You can feel it a bit, and
you can just feel it. It is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
suppose you're always
everyone's
gonna
free
get it,
world. You know, why shouldn't they?
But isn't it interesting that they've kind of that same thing's happening, but with just a completely different mindset entering it? You've got the tent there where everybody's, you know, chemically enhanced, and then the one where we're not. That's amazing, isn't it? And maybe this is where this is the one where we need to be, really.
Well, the difference with that one is that, the difference with the feeling after the dance, I found that it's given me a lot of clarity, a lot more creativity. This is why I'm studying now dance movement therapy, because I've realised how much it's developing certain parts of my brain. It's like creativity is oozing. Sometimes when I'm dancing at home in the middle of a dance, I've got to write stuff down.
Wow.
Because it's like I've got all these ideas. I can't explain. And I've been reading it. It actually opens up certain neural pathways in your brain. So certain parts of your brain are being kind of shut down, i.e. like that's what happens with meditation. You know, it stops your thinking brain and opens up these parts. And it's like there's actual science behind this. It's not, oh God, just dance and feel happy. It's like, actually, it's,
and as we've just seen, you know, it's as old as time, isn't it? Greek,
Yes.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. The Maenads, look, Maenads.
Ah, yes.
With the female followers
That's
of
what I remember this name.
significant members of the gods that they used to.
I haven't got my glasses on, so I'm pretending to read it, but I can't see it.
Often the Maenads are portrayed as inspiring us a state of ecstatic frenzy through a combination of dancing and intoxication. During these rites, form the skins and character. Yeah, I mean, it's as old as... And also, what did you say that about creativity? Like, any kind of meditation, any kind of, like, turning off the processing kind of, the gas bill and fucking, Netflix and, you know, what. When you turn all that off and you get into yourself a bit, you do start unlocking doors. And I can only imagine when you're dancing, because we all have that moment when we're getting ready to do the thing and you got the tune and the tune comes on and you're getting ready and you let yourself go a bit because no one's looking. Right? We've all done it. Don't pretend you haven't. You know?
Yeah.
In that moment, it's amazing. But if someone comes, you know, and we lock ourselves back up again. So I imagine that the exhilaration, the confidence that you must start to glean, like the release of just
not caring,
that must just,
and it takes you through into life more. You know, I feel empowered now. Today I'm going to do this now, and also like you say about people caring about people looking. Well, I go off and dance. In Hartsholme, there's a big field in the morning with my headphones and don't care who's looking. I just want to dance in the field. So people are out jogging and cycling, you're out there dancing away in the field, and that's amazing. Yeah, and that's, you kind of lose that caring, and that is, you lose sense of your ego, which is a really big, that's the thing I've been reading a lot about. You've mentioned Power of Now before in one of your... Yes. And that's been a big influence for me as well, Sam. Yeah. That kind of, I took that book, that was my Bible when I was in my van in Portugal. Yep. Because if sometimes when you step out of society, if you're not careful, you can get caught in the fear of what am I doing, and then it's like, I know, just read a few bits. It's like, it's fine. I'm just keep here in this moment, in the moment, and that's the thing with the dance. You're right in the moment, in the present moment. Like this, it's a form of meditation. So you mentioned Portugal, which is where we were going. Yeah. So you found this dance crew into the wild, and you had this epiphany moment when you've gone into this tent, and you mentioned you were in Portugal, you did 4 months. Is that kind of what led to Portugal? Why Portugal? Just because I kept in Cornwall, and various people I've been talking to had said, Portugal's really a good place to live off grid. So I kind of thought, I want to live off grid. I feel like that's where I want to go. I just didn't really know, but I thought, well, I'm going to explore Portugal. And then when I did, I spent some time kind of exploring and being in nature, but every now and again I'd pop in to like little communities and see how, like, I kind of saw a few people living in the mountains in their vans, and then I'd step out because there was a lot of drugs. Right. So I had that, like, a bit of exploration in Portugal. Do I want to live here? Is this for me? I've just drawn back actually to the UK because of my family. But Portugal is amazing. Have you been? Never it's been amazing, to Portugal. Sam. It really is. It's beautiful. Yeah. And there is a lot of people living very alternatively out there. Yeah. And cheap. The land is very cheap. So it just wasn't right for me. Who knows? Maybe in the future. Yeah. So, it's somewhere I'd like to go, and they've got interesting history with the drug laws and everything, haven't they? When they, I think it was that early 2000s maybe, when they decriminalised and declassified a lot of drugs, and it seems statistically like it had a huge effect on their crime. Well, it feels very free there as well. Actually, I could park my van anywhere; no one moved me on. Yeah. I mean, that was the joy of being in the van. I literally just wake up anywhere I wanted. And 2000, yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure addiction rates, pregnancy, I think all of the things that the whole myriad of ripple effects that happen when you take away the enigma and the oppression. Yes, saying no, and it's going to happen. It could be it could be something I hate in that job. If you keep telling me I can't have what's in that jar, I'm going to have what's in that jar. Yeah. Why do we do that? Yeah, so strange. And I did feel it in Port. It did feel freer actually. Yeah. So again, very friendly. So 4 months there, you're kind of dipping in and out, and And then I came back, and I have to try and think of what all the things are. And so then I was thought, I'm going to live in this country, don't know where. So Bristol was on the radar. I mean, I'm sure you're aware. Bristol's very kind of forward thinking, very green.
Musically, creatively, they've got good universities.
Beats down there and
Yes,
everything.
Yeah.
So I decided, I mean, I had a bit of spells kind of living in my van in London for a bit, because there was dance. So I'd found this ecstatic dance in London. Everything happens in London, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I remember it was a week in April, end of March, April, and it was actually snowing. But I stayed in my van in the street in London and danced 3 nights in a row, because I'd found this place that did the ecstatic dance. It's like, I'm just going to stay here and do this. And that's how much I just wanted to be wherever the dance was. In Portugal, there was quite a lot going on as well.
Yeah.
Quite a few like mini festivals and then, but I heard Bristol, it's going on in Bristol, so right. And so I lived there, and that was easy to live in the van.
Right.
Streets, quite open to it actually. Yeah,
Really?
there's areas where you can. And a lady, she let me stay on a drive. I put an advert actually out on Facebook. Has anybody got a drive I could stay on? And she said, yeah, come stay on my drive.
That's amazing.
And she was a lovely woman as well.
I've read a couple of times, and I've not had direct experience, but I've read and heard on podcasts a lot of people who used to travel, who are older now, often open house for travellers to come in, and they can soak for surf.
Because they understand how hard it is when you kind of got nowhere you can park. That's the thing in this country. You just after you get moved on all the time, you feel like you're not wanted.
Yeah, it's a fucking place.
I know it's But,
I love that idea though, and some of the guys and girls that I've heard talk about it are the wanderlusters, and they've done the travelling with the backpack on. And I've heard one guy in particular, Chris Ryan, tangentially speaking, who I love, talk about his van is like his 55-year-old man's rucksack. You know, he's just it's just his the form remains, but he's just adapted, you know. But then listening, he'll often say on a podcast, you know, we're going to be coming through Montana. We're going to go, you know, if anybody wants to hook up, or, you know.
Yeah, it's great. I've been listening to this,
Yeah, and the universe opens up, and he stays on so-and-so's, and he does podcasts with all these people.
Yes, yeah.
And they're amazing to listen to, because as you're explaining, and the feeling I'm getting from you, is when you do open up and you just go, okay, right, well, the Flavella, okay, let's go there. You know, it's going to be risky, weigh it up. Okay, well, it feels good. I'm going to trust and then before you know it, you're talking to somebody and, we've got some work. We're going over there. And then you're in Colombia. And I love that.
Yeah. And when you are open to people in the universe and you're positive, I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, your intent, yeah.
I mean, actually, it was in South America. Started it, and I'm still doing it now. I write. I've got a list. Not every day. Whenever it comes, sometimes there's a few a day of small pleasures, and I'm about at 500, over 500 now. And this is kind of like it's a gratitude of things that touch my heart, or just little observations in nature. That's kept me going. Sometimes when times get tough, I just look in the book and think, all right.
What a good idea.
It's brilliant. I'm going to write a poem from it.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
That's another thing, like the dancing, like anything, you know, when you write, you know, I say to Aidan and young people in my life, people who play guitar, people who play piano, maybe they had lessons when they're younger and they sort of didn't pick it up, you know, try and remember to get on it every now and again.
Yeah.
Because that 40 minutes that you disappear, or whatever it is, half an hour, you disappear off, you know, you don't necessarily mean you've written a number one or whatever.
No.
But you do get that sense again of, you know, and the gratitude of just, and the cathartic release of it. And writing seems to be, I mean, again, Aidan and I have talked a lot. I'm coming around to the idea that writing seems to be like the art of art, really, because you've manifested all this experience, and you're somehow using the language to try and get it on the page.
Yeah, that's the thing I struggle with, actually. That's why dance comes easy to me, because words don't always. But when I dance, I don't have to speak. So that's quite useful.
Of course.
In life.
I love what you're doing with the journaling though, and the that gratitude thing.
I recommend it to anyone. It's really helped me, and it's just. And I think when you live in a van or you'll probably know it when you're wild camping and things. I've done wild camping as well. I did that on my own in Madeira, put the the Portuguese
Island, yeah, gorgeous.
And when you're pushed right to the backs of out of your comfort zone, everything that you just become so much more aware and grateful of every small thing.
100%. Yeah.
Don't you like? And for me, just having a little gas can to do a cup of chamomile tea on the beach, I was like, this is the best thing ever.
Isn't it strange how our culture, we're in the race for infinite growth and automation and make it easier, which, when you take it first glance at it, it's amazing. Oh wow, we can heat that up in 10 seconds now, and you haven't got to leave the house, or you have whatever that is. We've just done a podcast this weekend in the Lake District. We took a little rig up there and did a proper podcast.
Where was you?
We weren't far from. Were we in Penrith? Somewhere in, I don't know the exact name, and Dave, my wild camping guru, told me off if I directly name it. But it was beautiful, and we went wild swimming as well.
Nice.
But our conversation was, and is, and tends to be, and this year is since the lockdown has been when I've really got into wild camping. I've been camping since my kids were born, with a instinctive, not really thought about, but an instinctive, I've got my kids, I need to get outside, we've got to be outside, we've got to get outside.
I'm always like that, yeah. I don't feel trapped if I'm inside.
I wasn't brought up like that, although I was lucky because I'm of the generation where you used to play outside.
Yes, yeah, make dens and things.
And someone would shout you when it was dark, right, you better get home, Unfortunately, kids don't really experience that as much now. But yeah, when my kids were born, I was like, I just had this instinct, we've got to get outside and do it. So, anyway, this year, wild camping, but the conversation has been exactly that. I'm just been so profoundly affected by simplicity.
Yeah.
My bag has got everything in it. And one of the things that I keep banging on to anybody who listens at the moment is I got is it one of the camel pouches, the water pouch? My God, that's just one of the most amazing adventures.
Yeah, you do. You feel like this day. One small thing like that, it feels like it's...
I just laid in my tent and I just got the hose. My bag's outside the tent and the hose just popping through the tent.
You put it through, yeah.
Just zipped up and the hose is just...
Yeah.
And having the kids. When travelling around in France with the kids earlier this year. How did I not... I've had kids for 6 years. How have I not had one of these before?
Yeah.
Do you want a drink of what? Yeah, there you go. Just amazing.
Yeah.
But like you say, the little gas canister or...
Yeah, I've got like a pop-up bowl.
Yeah.
Do you know what? It's flattened and pot. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm like in an airport, I have a bit of porridge in my bag and I'll just mix it with a bit of hot water. Slept in an airport.
And you think you haven't charged me £8 for a fucking process.
Yes. Honestly, I don't care how heavy my bag is as long as I've got some porridge for my breakfast. Oh,
that's ace. Yeah, having my bag, having everything in that bag and refining your bag. That's what I've been learning.
Yeah, yes, because it's quite. You have to be strategic, and it's a big decision.
It is,
isn't it?
Right, how long am I going to
apples
take that
or
and that goes in that pocket and that goes in there and that dry bag for that and like the bag. I pack it in a certain way to get that out first, and I mean I'm loving that and that simplicity. I think we're yearning for that collectively in this country, in this part of the world, in the West. I think we don't know it necessarily, but as amazing as automation and digital and all this stuff is, we can't keep up with it. Our DNA, our flesh and bone needs contact with its earth.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
When you get it and it's so simple, it just seems hidden in plain sight. It just seems ludicrous. And, I'm sure... I mean, I'm quite open to just say what I think, and I'm happy with that. But I'm imagining a lot of people, feel daft saying, like I just was laid on the grass and it was great. I didn't realise just stopping for an hour and just laid on the grass and looked at, watched the sun go down. That's really important. That's feeding us in a way.
I don't think it's until we're right in the raw of it, in the wild of it, doing it that way, that we notice the sound of the birds so much and the smells. I mean, I still now, even though I'm living back in a house, I go and listen to the dawn chorus at 5 a.m. in the woods because I need to hear the birds more.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm kind of feel like I'm bordering on too. I'm come back into society a bit, but I almost don't.
And is that COVID?
COVID has brought me back to rent. Yeah.
And
we'll see what happens. Because I want to travel again, obviously, but we can't. It's not very easy to.
So what happens
Yeah.
from Portugal then? So you do the 4 months in Portugal and then Bristol.
And then Bristol,
Yeah.
and I just got a massive dose of the dance in Bristol. So yeah, it's really going on down there. I mean, there's it's going on several times a week. Really good DJs, good music, and Bristol people are very kind of free spirited. Anything goes, very alternative. So you get that extra edge to the dance. Like, right, absolute free spirits. Let's go.
Does it feel markedly different then in Bristol in that way, with the people, with the vibe, with the acceptance?
I felt so, yeah.
And would you say that's across the board, or was it in that sector where you were?
Across the board, actually.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. I mean, sometimes it's, you can kind of, if you have a perception, you kind of reinforce your own perception if you're not careful, don't you? So, but yeah, it definitely feels it.
That's interesting, because I've read a lot about Bristol and listened to a lot of the music, whether it was the drum and bass scene coming through, and Portishead, and all the great music that's come from down that way. And it's only recently when I actually went down there, and I've also read books on like British gang culture and drug culture, and Bristol pops up quite a bit because I think Banksy, Massive Attack, but it's only recently where I actually went down, where Aidan and my stepdaughter were down that way at the universities between Bath and spending time in Bristol. And I was like, when I got down there, I was really impressed. It's a big city as well, isn't it? And the architecture is amazing.
Some really cool buildings.
And I did feel a really nice vibe down there.
Yeah.
And I had quite a split kind of picture in my mind, because I knew all the music and I knew all the creativity. But then I'd read a lot about like the drug culture and like that. But when I got there, I was like, this place is like, there's a really cosmopolitan kind of...
Yeah, there's definitely more freedom of the art as well. And that was the only place in the UK that I've seen that sentence again. You know, the Más amor, por favor?
Yeah.
But I saw it in English and it said, be more love, on the wall in big letters.
Amazing.
And I was like, aha.
Yeah.
It's here.
Yeah.
Made my day, that did.
No, of course. Well, it's those little moments. That's the gratitude, isn't it?
Yeah, it was in my book straight away, that one.
There we go.
Yeah.
So when was that? When we were in Bristol then, and where did that?
So Bristol, and then after Bristol, I decided to get out of the country and go to India. That was it, because I wanted to dance, and I wasn't quite sure where I wanted to go from Bristol. I wanted to maybe be closer to my family again, but I wasn't sure. And then, so this was at the beginning of this year. I went to India for 2 months and basically just danced the whole time.
And how did you find that? Had you been there before?
No. So India was really, amazing for me, because it's very, as you know, there's a lot of spirituality there. It's got a lot of, and there's a real feeling of celebration of life. But also, obviously, you feel the poverty as well. So have you been to India?
Never been. No. It's somewhere that I'm intrigued about. What was your perception before you got there?
Well, lots of people go, it's dirty, it's smelly, but then other people have really kind of connected with themselves on a spiritual level. So it mixed views. And I did actually only stay in one area, and this particular area was there was a lot of yoga. It was very, just really calm and a lot of dance.
Yeah, I mean, you hear both sides, you hear people, but I always think, well, like you've said in this conversation, I think that's an ailment of our culture a lot, where we're quick to say, oh, it's dirty, it's this or it's that, it's
and
different.
That doesn't really bother me. I mean, I'm not really bothered by that. In Brazil, you just get used to this when you're travelling, don't you? I'm not really bothered.
It's the same thing again, though, isn't it? It's like where there's that poverty, where's that simplicity, where there's that survival element, there seems to be the I don't know, the higher frequency of actually life being lived.
Yeah,
as opposed to sort of just ticking the boxes and, we're all living in, kind of the fear of what the other people think.
Yes.
We better have it that, even though I don't really feel like that, but everybody's doing it, so we better do it. Whereas, over there, it seems to be much, much, much freer in that way.
And if I'm honest as well, you've mentioned the word fear. And what I found sometimes is when you're back in the UK or talking to people, they're talking fear to you. Why aren't you? What you doing with your house? What you doing? It's like, stop bringing this fear on me.
What about this? But what about that?
I'm all right. I'm all right, thanks. I'm just finding what I want to do in the world. And as I mentioned in Portugal, realised I wanted to do gardening, so I was kind of thought, right, that's where I'm going to study horticulture and go into that. So I was fine, but you get a lot of fear is a big thing, isn't it? And that's what I try and
we sell
avoid.
it to ourselves. We prescribe
Yeah.
ourselves fear. And I mean, you know, not to get back to COVID, but I mean, it's a prime example of all of the peripheral fear that comes with, you know, the tabloid headlines and the news bulletin updates and, you know, like, and, you know, financial break, you know, and who knows if all this stuff's accurate or not, right? And who knows what I can do with the the numbers of deaths in wherever it is in the world, you know, like in your little database on your little hard drive, you've only got so much room and only so much processing power.
I don't want to fill it with any of that.
And it's everywhere you turn here, and it feels like it in the States. A lot of the stuff I listen to in the States, it feels like they're really on a you know, a fine line of exactly that, like where the fear is really at breaking point. Do you know what I mean? Like it's gonna boil over into something.
Really, yeah. I mean,
Feels
I
like
don't
it.
watch the news, so I'm
Me
completely
neither.
oblivious.
This is just
You
like
pick it from
independent through podcasts,
Yes,
through real
yeah.
people. You know,
Yes,
real
yeah.
people who are paying attention, conscious people, not selling agenda, not selling
No,
stories, not clickbait,
no.
and kind of, you know, sensing it through variation of these people and thinking, man, yeah, it doesn't sound good there.
right, yeah.
Doesn't sound good at the minute. And when you're here, I mean, I'm really lucky. We said as you came into the studio, Hannah, you know, like you, we're kind of ducking underneath it. We don't have the papers. I mean,
Yeah.
I've said this for many years, and for a little while when I was, you know, out there trying to make a change, I'd be picketing and, you know, put the papers down and don't watch the telly, it's fucking your head up and all that. And then you realise it is what it is. But I do look and I think, if you didn't have the television in the corner, right, with the news bulletin every 3 hours, just, you know, it's like almost like if you imagine Brave New World or 1984. I always think it's almost as if we get back from our hard day's work and we just get the cable and we just plug it in and we just have the download of the whatever it is, which is generally just fear and and horror and, you know, and then we unplug it and then okay, shake it off, and then you've got to make decisions.
And you're going to sleep with it as well. That's the thing. You're going to sleep with that in your mind. That's the
and that's what's processing. You're processing that, you know, emotionally, you know, rationally, trying to do what you will with it. And then tomorrow you need to make a decision. Yeah. Anna, do you want to? I'm thinking about just. I know it sounds a bit mad, but I'm just thinking about jumping on a train, going down south, and then maybe fly over. Yeah. And then you all the information. You're like, oh, hang on a minute. Apparently there's a breakout of you know, and there's paedophiles and fucking, and you do. Oh no, stay here. Don't go out. Yeah. And then that just grows. You know, and then we bring the children up on it, and now you don't leave your back door open, and now you don't play out in the field, and now you're not touching the earth. Now you're just giving an iPad to a 18-month, you know, and wondering why when they're 18 they can't come out of the bedroom, they can't even look you in the eye. You know, we've taken away, like we've killed our ability to be in touch with salacious, mad fear. Yeah. Doesn't it? Yeah. Feels like clickbait and just mad shit that's just like, what can you do with that information? What can you do with it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just avoid it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
well,
I think it's so important. Yeah, it's so important to just not absorb this kind of information and just be in nature and be in creativity and be with the right energies.
I just can hear people now. You say that to people and just, you fucking hippies.
Oh,
what
I know,
the fuck are you talking about?
This is we actually get from people anyway. So, But
luckily we're building a little family. I mean, it's early days for the podcast, but you know, we're definitely building a little gathering of people that I think are exploring. Is it just the rigid, get the grades, get the job, get the salary, get the house, you know, and die? Or is there a bit more?
And I felt that in Bristol, you know. And here for me, I would like to create a community with the dance me and my friend, I'm actually online doing a dance facilitator course, so I can hold these dances. I'm going to learn the DJing. I mean, I just want to learn how to blend the songs together. I've got, as long as you've got a good playlist, the rest will come. I'm not going to be suddenly DJing.
No, but your passion will get you where you want to be.
The music I'm hearing is amazing, because this particular organisation, it's called Awake Human Being, and it's in South Africa. And so the music is just great. It's really, really, quite a lot of kind of beats, primal beats. Yeah, Awake Human Being.
Awake Human Being.
Like,
I like the sound of it.
Yeah, it offers dance meditation, loads of kind of stuff you can do at home, and also I'm doing the training. So yeah, it's worth looking at.
Oh, excellent.
Well, you'll
have to give me something to play on the intro to this when the audio goes out.
Oh yeah, there's loads of music on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I'm looking to bring this to the Midlands.
Do it.
Yeah, honestly. So anyone who's like into meditation or dance, or just used to love dancing and don't want to do the drugs anymore. If you love music, you don't even have to.
There's a fucking big.
I'm 100%. This is why I'm on this planet for, Sam.
There's a big generation of people there
it to people.
that I'm pretty sure, like you say, we said earlier in the conversation, when the drugs are fun at the start and you're exploring the world and you're gaining experiences, and then a lot of us get caught a bit late carrying on, and the magic's gone and the chemicals are kicking in and the whole ripple effect of that. There's so many of us, I'm saying this to my wife often. I mean, the Lost Village Festival happens just behind our house, which is a pretty cool festival, because it's a bit more boutique, it's a bit more experience based. I can't say it's drug free because I know it isn't, but Alex and I often talk to my wife about I miss dancing. I mean, I was a bit of a party, I was at the party till the end.
Well, I remember going to the quarry with you guys. Yeah.
It was crazy.
It really was.
But I miss dancing, and I've said to Alex on several occasions, I can't. If I think about going to a club now, I think about it in the conditioned way of like getting off me rocker and then all dealing with all that. But then I do come to the conclusion, it's like, no, but I do miss like being lost
in music.
For 3 hours, just being lost in a groove with the smiling faces and just. I don't want the other bit. Yeah. So I'm part of that generation that if that becomes an available thing, well, now, I mean, this is the beautiful thing about this podcast for me, is that I come into contact with all these ideas and people like you who are offering different kind of avenues for exploration. And I'm going to take them up. You know?
This is it. I think if people are open to trying these things, it's just see. And I think luckily the music that's played at a lot of them, it's kind of a mix. So usually there's some part of it that's like, oh yeah, I'm into this bit, and then that's where it kind of releases. And then once you've gone once, it's like, I mean, I feel like I'm addicted to this.
Yeah,
I'm addicted to ecstatic dance.
Your energy for this is immense, and I can't recommend it enough. Feel it from you. I think we bumped into one another at a yoga class, didn't we? Either late last year or maybe at the start of this year. And I've not seen you for a long time. Yeah. And I felt it from you then. Yeah.
I think I said to you, I'm sure I would have thrown the word ecstatic dance.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think I did. I remember saying it. And it's just, I feel passionate to tell people about it, because it's like a hidden gem that people don't realise is within them. And also, with mental illness and anxiety, there's a massive
levels
and it's proven dance can help your brain and release from depression and release from anxiety. This is facts. So it's like it's an holistic therapy, even without feeling like a therapy.
And with you saying there as well, like the music goes through various stages. I've read again in other places. It's almost like, is there a five style? Sure, I've read there's like a version of it where you might be doing 5 different variations of music.
There's one stem which is called the 5 rhythms.
5 rhythms,
that's
that'll be
it. Yeah, where you kind
read.
of you start in there's like a flow, and then a staccato, and then a chaos. So and then you go down to stillness. So it's basically a wave
journey.
It's a journey which happens almost in a club, I suppose.
Yeah,
but normally, often in a club, they throw you straight into it.
Yeah, you like down and then
straight into the chaos.
Drop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, what often there's kind of a form of meditation at the beginning, like a dance meditation to get you into your body. That's the difference, I think, than just dancing in a club or in a tent. It's like, okay, let's just try and get us into a body a bit. And then once you're into that, you kind of release, and then the music takes you, really.
Yeah, and it almost feels like you allow your essence to flow or something.
Yes.
This one's for the hippie lovers. But I believe that. I feel like my wife did acupuncture and she's holistically minded. She's like a witch. And she talks about chi and like opening your energy.
Yes,
and,
yeah.
And in a very practical way, like in a very matter-of-fact way.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be wishy-washy or whatever.
No.
Like you're saying, dancing. You get it when you do exercise. We did some crazy running the other day. I can't remember what the lads had us doing, but I felt amazing on the way to work. And I often do, because if I train in the mornings, which is when I do train, the endorphins just bounce. You open up the channels, your body flows. It's like your brain's saying thank you, because now, the cobwebs are blown off, and especially when you're getting a bit older as well.
Yeah, you feel so happy, don't you?
Everything's just, it's almost like you've just freed up the channels for everything.
Yeah.
And then you feel a bit more confident about everything. You feel a bit more. You've got a bit more energy, a bit more battery power.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, actually, I can't remember. The last time I really danced. Yeah, great time. Head bop. Really danced.
I mean, sometimes I'm that happy. I start laughing and giggling when I'm with people, that we're all, it's like, I feel that high, especially a particular, I went to one in Corfu for a few days. It was a whole Ecstatic Dance festival, and I was giggling like nearly every day, just feeling high, it's like a release of all this. It's like, naturally, we've got joy and happiness in us. That's a natural part of us. And the dance seems to just let that out with nothing else. It's just, that's me. Let it all out.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And every morning I'm dancing. Before my breakfast, I'm dancing. And it's like you say, yeah, that's it. Today, I'm happy.
And you mentioned your daughter, Leah.
Yes, yeah.
What does she think to it? Has she come dancing with you? Has she let go yet?
No, she hasn't. I think she likes it. She kind of, I think she's intrigued by it, but I've learned my lesson over the last few years not to push stuff on her. She's very strong-minded. She's an absolute beautiful, kind soul, but she's a teacher, so how teachers can be. It's like, okay, that's her, and this is me, and I'm aware of that. So I try not to push things on her too much. I do say to have a go, and she kind of says to me, "Oh, I don't really like dancing." I'm like.
So that must be a difficult one for you.
It is. It's really hard.
Because it's almost like you want to unlock her. I guess.
I do.
Does she recognise the change in you? She must do.
Oh yeah.
She must do. And does she like obviously happy for you and how open and flowing you are?
She's been on my whole journey with me, Sam. South America, with WhatsApping all the time. She was like my mum almost at some point.
Making sure you're okay.
Yeah, she was, what man are you don't spend time with, she was like, be careful, mum. And, yeah,
what do you mean you're in the Amazon on your own with with a spider's web made out of brake cable?
So she's been on the whole journey with me, and I feel like she's happy for me. She smiles, kind of a very not in your face. She's just subtly will say a few things, but I think she sometimes wonders what to make of it all.
Well, I think coming back to earlier what we said, we are so locked into the expectations. I mean, David Icke coined this, I think, certainly in my life. I heard him say once when he was talking, and just a quick disclaimer, David Icke's got a lot of haters and dismissers and naysayers and all that, and listen, to me he's just another guy with an opinion, and some of it makes a lot of sense, some of it doesn't, and it goes in the pot for me with a load of people that make a load of sense, and some of the stuff they say doesn't. That's it. This particular thing he said was, we live in a prison, and that prison is the prison of what other people think.
Oh yeah.
And I talk I thought about that, and I thought about particularly my experience with my mum, for instance. Very different people, me and her. And I've always had this feeling of like, I didn't know it as a young person growing up. You're just at odds with your mum, and you think, well, everyone's at odds with the mum. You can, you can't. Well, why can't I? Because you can't, and blah, blah, whatever. And as I've gotten older and sort of spread my wings and put my own foundations in and built my own values and family and, that prison that so many of us live in dictates so much.
Oh, yeah.
Because you lock away who you are, like that bravery that, especially now, that's required for you to say what it is you really want to say, to dance how you really want to dance,
be your authentic self.
To wear, like even in the most fucking banal situation, people will just conform to the cultural wave because we're just so fearful, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and we get smaller and smaller and smaller. And I look at things like my own opinions, my own judgments, which we all have, and I look back at my relationship with, like I say, with my family and my mum in particular, and how much. And she didn't know she's doing this; she's just of that mind, But if I hadn't have stuck with my guns and sort of allowed myself, you can be imprisoned by somebody else's. I think that's what's happening culturally, isn't it? Like the fear that somebody else has got, especially an elder or somebody that is leading by example, somebody that you're learning the world from. If they're in fear, if they are scared, if they can't express themselves, if they can't be in truth, then you're learning from that. It's really difficult. That's something I've really tried to harness with my own kids and like everything I'm doing. And at the same time, it's difficult because you look at patterns that you've developed over time and you've fucking got to rip them up and kind of go, shit,
I think that with Leah, she's got her own path to learn. I do notice some parts of me in her. She went away in my van with a boyfriend in Cornwall, and they loved it. So she's got kind of a curiosity, but I think she's in her 20s. I just let her do it however she wants. I do believe that some of this part of me, this kind of trying to express to her that you can be free from all this thoughts and just move and dance, and I think it will come round. Yeah, I have faith in that. Yeah, totally. And your energy is just so pure. I mean, you've lit the studio up tonight. I mean, you have. You look great. You're a bit nervous at first, if I'm honest, because I'm not used to talking in a microphone. No, of course, but it is a bit strange, and you're in your own ears and all that. But it's intense, and it's been an absolute pleasure having your story. Just a fraction of it, I guess, as well, But seeing you light up when you talk about this is really inspiring. Well, I want to share it to the world. Yeah. And so the future then for you. Yeah. So obviously COVID is dictating a lot in the way of what we can and can't do at the moment. So what is the sort of the next year looking like for you? Are you going to try and bring something to the Midlands? Are you kind of stationary here? 100% stationary for the moment. I'm doing the gardening in the background, and then I'm studying the dance movement therapy. So I'd like to actually do a master's in it. Actually, that's my future. Maybe at Derbyshire University. That's for next year. But this year is that I just would like to build a dance community over the between now and summer, and get people together, get people interested, and have you met people in these Midlands and Midlands at the moment? Yeah, there's some things going on in Sheffield. Some people gathering together and dancing. I went to a dance in some woods, and the more what's happening, as we said earlier, once you start opening yourself up to things, you realise who wants to be a part. It opens up, It kind of just flows from there, really. Well, I can tell you this much, Hannah. I'm fucking buzzing that your energy is in our little town, our little humble city of Lincoln, because it's radiant, and it's, we need it more than ever now. We need the belief that we can be who we are. Yeah. And then let that out and share it, and maybe it permeates the next person's, energy field, and
they can build some more trust. The more of that right now, more than ever, is so important.
It really is.
It's
I
so
think we
important.
need that. The dance can also bring a very, very much a kind of community feeling. And, you know, a lot of people being in social isolation, it's important that we find this way to dance. And they are doing it down in London and Bristol. They are dancing, even though there's the regulation. They're following the guidelines. It's happening.
I think that's going to happen in a lot of sectors as well. I think so much changes upon us. I mean, we talk about the new normal all the time, and you know, it was a bit of a drag at first, but then the further we go into this thing, it does feel like, I mean, offices. How so many offices are just not going to open up offices and have people park in the car park that gets paid for on an annual lease to go into the office. People are doing it at home. People are adapting to being in I'd like to hope a little bit more of a free situation, a little bit more time on our hands, as you alluded to before. We're always in a rush. We're always fucking, because we've got to get. If we start finding ourselves in a culture where, okay, instead of you've got to clock your 8 till 5 in the office and you've sort of finished your work at 1 and you're kind of just making up the fucking time and you can't leave till 5, then you've got to get in the traffic, the rush hour traffic. If people all of a sudden are able to, we'll get the work done. If you get this and this and this done by Friday tea time, that's all we need.
Yes.
There's the wage.
Not such high expectations.
People are up at 5 listening to the birds, getting their shit done by 11. Right, what now? And finding ourselves in closer groups, maybe more communal, little smaller environments, because maybe that's where it's going. I don't know. I'd like to think it is. Get back to some roots.
Yeah. No, I think it'll all be okay.
Thank you. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
I've loved hearing that. And we'll do this again in the future. See how it's going when we actually get. In fact, I will come when you put a thing on. I will come down there and I will bring my wife.
Dance your freedom, Sam.
And we
Dance
will
your
let
freedom.
it go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Hannah.
Welcome.
Peace.